Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Look at all those smiling faces, and you know there's only one reason why, because our Raiders came through on Sunday, right? Just in
They
time for
did
the show, right?
indeed.
I mean, your thoughts about it, Heidi. What name something good that you saw, something that you've
I,
been wanting to see.
I saw them going to the run and sticking with it. That made all the difference in the world.
No, no brainer, Captain.
Well, I was going
Besides
to
the
say,
run, did you see anything else?
yeah, can you hear me by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good, good, good. I actually, it's on that thought is basically that Josh Jacobs set a new Raiders record for the first running back to run for three straight 140 yards in a game, straight, straight, straight. So boom, boom, boom. Which, when you think about it, when we've had people like Marcus, who is obviously the benchmark for great Raider running backs as far as longevity and yards and things like that. I mean, obviously a lot better than Clarence Davis wasn't known for having those streaks. Marv Hubbard was not known for having those streaks. Obviously, Marcus Allen was, but for Josh Jacobs to supplant that was amazing, and that's a hell of a record. And I know that we're going to we can get into a debate. And although I'm just like throwing a topic out there, maybe I don't know if we've done, was the decision not to sign. And I think we might have said this before, the decision not to sign Josh to that 50-year option. But that'll be something that'll be a little stew
Yeah,
that,
we
that
definitely have to debate
we hit.
that.
Yeah.
And Captain, along with and Heidi, along with talking about the commitment to run finally, we want to talk about two things. We want to talk about the Raiders' identity. They have been
Yeah.
searching since the first game. We also want to talk about the development of the O line. Okay?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, I did notice that 80% of the runs did come on the left side, and of course, that's our best side with Colton, right? But I
Right.
also saw some good run blocking and some serious pancaking going on, really on both sides. So we gotta give the O line some kudos too. Something definitely has happened with that line. I see some gelling, and of course, Andre James has become that anchor that we were looking for after we lost our center a couple of years ago. But I get the feeling that that line is feeling a lot better about itself these days.
And they should. I mean, they had a runner that's gone for 140 yards in the last 3 games in a row, and
Hmm.
he scored 3 touchdowns this last game.
That's
So,
right. And the
I mean,
pass
why
blocking,
shouldn't they feel better?
even the pass blocking has improved, especially on that right side. I don't want to get started there, but uh, Carr is getting the time that he has to have to at least go to his second, and I've seen sometimes even his third check down. We had some good numbers. We love to see Foster Moreau back, right?
And he was the actually the tight end that we were missing the most, is
Yes.
because Foster rarely drops balls. um,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
he rarely and he blocks a hell of a lot better than Derek. And I'm not slapping Waller. I'm just saying that. But as
Yeah,
far as
we'll save
consistency,
time for that.
yeah. I'll let you have that. That I'll tee you up. I'll tee you up for that. But as far as being consistent, Foster Moreau has been the most consistent, dynamic tight end who can pass block, who can catch, who can do everything needed as a tight end. And I just think that he was definitely missed with that knee injury, and he's been out. He was missed more than Darren Waller. Now Horsted came in and played adequately, and
Right.
and playing adequately in the NFL is good, because if
Hmm.
you're playing adequately, you're doing your job. He
That's
played
right.
adequately, but he wasn't that above average tight end, and we've been missing that. So we got Moreau, we have Horsted, and if Waller ever decides to figure out that I'm getting paid to do something,
Yeah,
let
and
him
Perhaps
do
we
they
it.
should
also
do it.
yeah, and we also saw Renfro back, 3 catches, 55 yards, not bad. few pass patterns. I don't know whether anybody saw it, but the Raiders came back with that play that was a disaster against Kansas City. That crossing pattern between Renfro and Adams, right? They came back with it early and ran it twice. And it ran the way it was supposed to run. One time Renfro catches it, one time Adams catches it. We did see Hollins regain a little bit of his confidence, right? It was only 2 catches, but one was a big one, right?
Yeah, that's
Carr's only touchdown of the day between 2 defenders.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed
right in front of me
that.
too. Right in front of me, and he did the little shimmy, and I was like, "It's like, hey, I'm here, come over to me." No, he kept the ball. That's fine. That's fine.
Hey,
but you know, actually, the worst thing, and I got to say this, Peggy, the worst thing that happened on Sunday was when Jacobs had the touchdown going into the corner of the end zone, and he throws the ball up, and you know who he's throwing it to?
Who was he throwing? Texan Van?
No. He was throwing it to he was throwing it to Dede. Because
okay.
He was throwing it to Dede, and because Dede had taught, and I'm not diming Dede out, I'm diming her out in a good way, because Dede had a conversation with Jacobs before, saying that, hey, this is where I sit, I'm always going to be there, yada yada yada, and she was there, and he remembered, or she had made the conversation about, well, this is where I'm in when you get to the R. I said, no, don't worry, when I get to the R, I'm throwing it to you. He was throwing the ball to Dede.
Oh,
and it was errant by about a foot.
But that's okay.
The dude that was there wasn't even supposed to be there, and that was Dede's football. And of course, Dede, not being a nasty person, didn't say anything. But Dede, that should be your ball, and I think Josh still owes you a game ball.
And just for those of you who don't know Dede Dillard is a DC Metro Raider.
Yes, she is.
And former Marine Corps. And a real, hoorah, right? And she absolutely is a diehard Raider fan and has season tickets. And just like you, Captain Jack, flies from the East Coast for every game, home game.
And you know her as Tinker Hell.
Yeah, Tinker Hell.
Yeah, Tinker Hell, and she gives everybody hell. And that was for Dede. So I hope that somebody tells Josh that the ball he was throwing to Dede got intercepted.
But that's okay. But now I want to switch over and talk about that defense before I ask for your grades. Tell me something good you saw about the defense. Uh-oh.
I'm going to say one good thing, and I didn't see it. Who? No. Who was that directed towards?
Oh, wait a minute, Captain. You can go first.
Okay, good, because I'm going to make mine easy, because the best thing I saw about the defense was something that I didn't actually see.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the game was in hand, and I moved from my spot in 121 back to my normal seats in 126, and it took me a while to get there. When the game was out of hand, that Jacobs had that other touchdown, and we're up by 11 or 14, whatever it was at the time.
Mm-hmm. And mind you, we didn't take the lead until the fourth quarter.
Right,
people forget.
Yeah, but I was adequately. And of course, you know what that is. By the way, that is the people that are calling.
Well, I'm gonna go to Heidi. Heidi,
go ahead.
A good thing about the defense that you saw?
I saw Chandler and Cleveland coming together at the quarterback. It was kind of nice to see both of those to ring up a stat for each of them.
Our one sack of the day, and you know what I said earlier about how we just couldn't make it having one sack a game, but it was nice to see those two guys meeting up, wasn't it? And,
it was.
And Captain, you had to be talking about Harmon's touchdown return.
Because I was leading up to it. The pick six, which was the first time we've had a pick six in 4 or 5 years.
No,
it was like 3.
Well, it's been a
In
while.
Cleveland, Conley. It was
Yeah.
Conley.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's our second turnover 6-point score in the last 5 years. We've only had one other, and that was Conley's. So we've
Okay.
had 2 this year. And I like to see that. Now I want to go to grading, and I hope all of you out there will help us do the grading. Let's start with offense. And Heidi, give me a grade.
Well, it was a tale of two halves.
Yes, it was.
Well, it just sounds like a Dickens novel.
I know it. And we're going to let her tell that story. she's trying to give him a...
There was nothing impressive at the start. Nothing impressive at all.
And Heidi, a lot of that had to do with Lovey. And I try to tell people about Lovey Smith and his defenses ever since the Ram days. Disguise, disguise, disguise. You cannot just do your thing on him first quarter because you're going to get burned. So
Yeah.
what are you giving him?
I'll still give them a B.
Good. And Captain, what's your grade for the offense this week?
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely. Actually, I was even teetering on B plus A minus because you're talking about the full breadth. The full breadth was that Jacob scores 3 touchdowns. Okay, 140 plus yards rushing. You know, obviously, I don't know what I did. It was like 167. I don't remember what the exact stat was, but that was good. The pass blocking was good. I don't recall. I think Carr was sacked maybe once that I remember.
Was sacked once.
Yeah, once that I remember. So I was good on that. And the other thing is that the okay, Tito grades hard. Tito grades.
Oh no.
Hard.
Hey, you know what?
I thought I graded hard.
I like hard graders, you know.
Okay.
So
well,
Captain, you still haven't given me your grade.
A minus, B plus.
Very good.
I said that.
And I'm giving them a B plus this week. First B grade that I've given to the offense this year. And now we go to defense. And Captain, your thoughts on the defense overall?
Overall, I'd have to give them a C plus because they still have problems with the running game. I mean, and I'm gonna be a homer here in one respect. I love Dameon Pierce because he's a Gator.
Oh yeah.
But I hated seeing Dameon Pierce run all over our defense and even catch passes. So I was like, and that was the guy that I thought that we were gonna actually target in the 4th round when we got Zeus White.
Right.
Okay.
20 carries, 92 yards, 4.6 average.
Yeah, he was annihilating, play after play after play. He was like I said, 4.6 average. It seemed like it was more. It seemed like it was more. But I think that in the second half, they finally put him under wraps a little bit because he was ripping off like 9-10 yard runs a clip in the first half. And they came back on him.
And of course the tackling. I mean, mainly a lot of people just sloppy. Some people put it to the bye. Heidi, your thoughts about, they were sluggish because of the bye, right? They were just coming off.
They played the same way that they played before the bye.
No.
That doesn't compute.
I can't go with that. Captain, did you give our defense a grade?
Yeah, C plus.
And Heidi, your grade?
I was also going to give them a C plus.
Yeah, well, you guys are generous. And the only reason that they get that C minus from me, a C at all, is because they held them to 20 points. Okay, but 404 yards of offense was given up, and I'm telling you, if it hadn't been for it was the Houston Texans with that young quarterback. No telling what they would have done with that 404 yards. They might have ended up in the end zone a lot more than they did. One more kudo to give to the Raiders. 5 penalties, 44 yards. When you keep it under 5, you can win games.
Yeah,
mean, you just
I made
got to.
I made sure I talked to John Hussey about that too. I'll have that, but I'm gonna hold that conversation till tomorrow on
Oh,
NFL Nation Live. So that's a shameless plug, but it's definitely need to be shared with Ref Guru. So tune into that with my conversation with referee John Hussey on NFL Nation Live tomorrow.
thank you, Mike. And now we go to special teams. And Heidi, your thoughts on special teams? I thought I saw some good stuff out there as far as run backs.
Yeah, yeah, the run backs were nice. I didn't really pay that much attention to them, which was
Yeah.
nice because that means
Hmm.
we were executing in the red zone.
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. I think we. And
And
go ahead.
what we mostly saw was kickoff coverage.
Yeah.
We didn't have that many punts. It was mostly kickoff coverage.
No.
So, you know what? I'll go out on a limb and I will give an A minus.
Very
My
good. And
my first A ever.
Captain,
Wow.
your thoughts on the special teams this week?
I was about ready to say about the same thing because when you don't have nothing to say about a particular um,
Hmm.
forum, either offense, defense, or special teams, it means that they were doing the job and they were in the background. They weren't so predominant that they were important to the game. I like the fact that we were getting that Carlson was out there for PATs more than he was out there for field goals. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And again, it was like
Good
maybe
point.
a punt or two, which is good. So you don't have to cover that. I like seeing Turner back there as the returner. Yeah,
Interesting.
he did. No, I do because he did muff a punt, but he smartly went on top of it, so it wasn't a bad thing. I want to see Turner back there because it relegates Hunter Renfro to not doing it. And that's what
Right.
I don't want to see. I want to see Turner back there more often. And maybe we can even throw him in on kickoff returns eventually as well. But I like seeing Turner back there. And I like seeing Turner play, period. It was good
Well,
to see him come back.
and Heidi, I was just going to ask you about that. Didn't we see him on a few little gadget plays? Or, I mean, it was
We
a
did.
surprise.
We
At
did.
least two little plays that I saw him. I'm like, what are you doing back there? And that's all I was like, what is he doing in the backfield?
Well, we've one thing that we have come to recognize is that Josh McDaniels likes his gadget plays.
Well, yes, and we'll talk about gadget. I mean, I'm looking at basically nursery school level gadget. I was kind of thinking more like end around reverses, things that show a lot more offensive creativity. Flea flickers. But okay, we're he's starting to loosen up. Okay, I see where we can build on that. And Captain, your special team grade?
Oh, well, I would say I'm going to have to give him a straight B. I mean, not a grade A but I given them a B positively because again, they didn't really do anything to affect the cause of the game. I said they did what they were supposed to do. They didn't screw up, so I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
give them a straight B.
Right. And for me, I'm going to give special teams an A this week because I love the fact that we only punted twice. I
Cool Kev
mean,
does not agree with us.
no, but that's okay. We love the feedback, the input. He's like blah. Of
Yeah,
course, a lot of
yeah,
people are going to go on Turner almost muffing. Was it? That was a punt. He almost muffed,
yeah. It was
wasn't
it
it?
was a it
Yeah.
was a muffed punt, but he
Mm-hmm.
jumped on it. It
And
did.
that's where I agree with you. He was
Mm-hmm.
smart about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not try to scoop it up thing. Okay? Don't minute you start bending over, that's it, you're vulnerable. All right, and now we
Did
go.
she just say that?
Yes, you did. I did, and I did not use a word that was X-rated to describe
No,
it.
no, you're good. You're
Oh
good.
no, I smoothly
Yeah.
put that one in there. But now
Uh-huh. Yeah.
let's
What
go.
was? Move.
Captain, let's go to coaching. This week's game. What do you got? What do you got for us? Give me the grade, then give me some
I'm going to give it a solid B because again, overall, there's still, like I said, the offense still needs to be a little bit more in sync. But like you said, we're starting to get a little bit more of McDaniel showing himself. The fact that you even said that, and I didn't pick up on it because again, my vantage point of the plays that you said that we went back to Adams and Renfro, we went back to it and they were successful with it. So he's like, okay, we screwed it up, but we're going to run it until we get it right.
Exactly.
The defense did its job, had the pick six. Like you said, kept them under 20, which is what they needed to do. The special teams played adequately. So I'm going to give a solid B. I think that, like you said, what I like to see is the fact is that it seems that the team has turned a corner in the fact that they apparently might be playing for McDaniels, whereas in the beginning of the year, there was a lot of apparent dissension where these guys are not playing for the bastard because they don't like what's going on. I at least see that it appears, and again, appears that the team has turned a corner on that and they're starting to get it.
Right. I was really worried about the locker room for a long time. And Patty, your thoughts on the coaching this week?
I'm just agreeing with Jack a lot. I also would give them a B, and it's simply because they finally found the run and they finally stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean the gadget plays, they're still like you said, a little elementary.
But they, the one play that they did have with Carr lined up, and it was like he lines up and then he gets the ball, and then the one I liked
was Josh throws back to him.
Yeah, but the one that I liked was the one that it was like it was the double pass. It was like a basically a lateral pass then to Carr, who actually then threw it downfield. I like that because it was.
I like the one that went 1 yard.
Well. Yeah. And of course, most of those kind of plays get executed. It's the running back that throws the ball. Josh don't throw the football. Okay. So, I mean, when you see a quarterback doing that passing back and forth thing, haven't you always seen the running back as the one that's throwing that ball?
Yeah, but you gotta. Hey, he's not Marcus.
Pure athlete. I mean, and Marcus is up in the box this week.
Yes,
Did you see him?
Yes, he was. I saw him. I said hi to him. He actually knows who I was.
Yeah.
He actually knows who I was because my buddy was talking to him.
Who doesn't know? Who doesn't know, Captain?
No, well, I was surprised.
And so I'm going to give coaching a B-, and it's my pet peeve that I've mentioned to you guys week after week about first quarter preparation. Now, it may be their philosophy is, and I've seen this, some pretty good coaches, they watch and see what you do in the first quarter, and then they adjust for the second quarter. Okay, in other words, they want to see what you're doing. But by God, I'd really like to see a game where my people are prepared to stop the people that they have to stop on defense, where the offense is prepared to execute and attack the weaknesses of the defense of the other side. I'd like to see that starting first quarter, so our Raider fans up and down the Facebook feeds and on the Twitter don't have heart attacks. They're having heart attacks. They're going to the bar ordering 2 and 3 drinks because it looks like, oh my God, they're doing it again. They're they're turning people like Mills, right?
I gotta break out my grandma, yeah.
Right. They're turning average guys like Mills and Pierce into all pros. And everybody was thinking, oh my God, we're doing it again. Can we have a game, Josh McDaniels, where from the first snap of the ball, your offense, Graham's defense is prepared for the team they're playing? That's all. And for that reason, I mean, I said B-, but I really just want to give coaching a C. I'm looking for that well prepared game plan from them. I guess they'll get there, right, Heidi?
I sure hope so. I mean, they're improving now. They improved against one of the worst teams in the league.
Exactly.
So,
but but they need to stop sending Raider fans to the hospital with heart attacks and strokes because they just won't come out the box playing strong football. Captain,
as long as I'm not on the injury list, as long as I am, if I don't have a heart attack, it's okay.
it's
But
okay.
but the minute that I do the because like I said, in the first quarter, in the first half, it was too tight for me, and I had to shut up a Texans fan that was a little bit full of himself over behind Dede, because he was all full of vim and vigor and like, "Rah!" And I'm like, dude, it's the second quarter, it's a long game, there's 4 quarters. Chill out. And I literally was doing that with you because he's far away. I wanted him to make sure he knew what the hell I was saying. But yeah, it was tighter than I wanted early on, and I'm glad that they came out and they started executing a lot better in the second half. That's what I really liked.
Yeah, and it's fortunate for us that they exploded for 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, or we might have had one of those tight down to the wire games.
Yeah.
Think about it. I mean, we did not take the lead until the fourth quarter. The lead changed 4 times.
well, there wasn't until the pick six that I started to feel a little bit like, okay, I can breathe a little bit.
Heidi can actually leave her seat, get up and make a sandwich. All that time,
I can go to the bathroom for the first time in 6 games.
I just want to see a complete game from first quarter to last. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to talk about Mr. Waller. And I know we're all speculating. We lost once again. We had a game with what I call a phantom injury. The Raiders aren't telling us something, and I would like to know what it is. I'm just speculating, and maybe somebody out there can tell me. I'm like, okay, he's all right now. He's not all right now. We've got what's wrong with him now? What's the official report about Waller now?
Well, what was and only in, and again, I'm not defending him, but in a requisite statement, they said that hamstring injuries can take up to 1.5 years if they are severe. So I think that maybe the severity has been understated because he's had this injury since last year.
Okay. He's re-injuring an injury he already had.
That in my estimation, he is re. I don't say he's just it's a lingering nagging injury that he is not fully healed from, and we do got your gentleman when you are ready, and because he did. BK, I got you, brother. So when the ladies say for me to bring you on, we will bring you on.
But Heidi, something shady to me. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. But we just paid this guy. We just signed this guy to a $51 million contract, $28 million guaranteed. He's making $17 million a year. I felt from the beginning that it was premature. What's your thoughts on that, Heidi?
Well, he was going to have this injury the entire year if that contract wasn't signed.
Is that what we're looking at?
That's what I'm thinking. And well, he still has it. anyways. But
And Mike,
I honestly think that if the contract hadn't been signed, this would have been lingering, and he wouldn't have wanted to take a step out on it, and it would have continued to be a problem. Now, if there is something more going on with him, and
something ain't right.
I think
Mhm.
I think that's a possibility. I know last time we mentioned the R word. Um,
I won't mention it again,
and
but
I said that does not mean that somebody is using again. That
correct.
that does not mean it. It just
Oh,
means
okay. Yeah,
that
I was like our word. Like,
it just
Hmm.
means that they're not right in the head.
That's right.
Something's off.
And and and
And
and
it seems like something is off. And I hate to say
something
that
is
because I
off.
love the guy. I
I
really love
do.
him and I really respect him, especially coming, from my background with my struggles. I
Hmm.
identify with him and
You're not the only one.
yeah,
Hmm.
but y- you know, when you're an addict or an alcoholic, you kind of can recognize it in other people.
You sure can. And it's not the using, it's the behaviors. Something we have labeled in recovery have labeled addictive behavior. It's not anything that you can say, oh, he's using it. No. What we're saying is that the prelude to using again is a change in behavior, a change in habit, changes in pattern. He's now engaged in a lot of outside activities. And more importantly, Captain, and I want to bring this back to you. A lot of people mentioned to me they thought Waller got the money that Jacob should be getting. What are we going to do?
and I think that was kind of like the segue from what I was alluding to earlier. Personally, I wouldn't have signed either one of them, and I'll tell
Right.
you why. I'll tell you why. And Waller was under contract for 2 more years.
Mm-hmm.
2 more years. So we had him under contract
Already.
already, and it was one of those things where if he's playing to get paid because he got paid, it's always better to dangle that carrot. I want to make sure I don't. I'll put the carrot here so it's over my face or right in front of my face,
Mm-hmm.
so you can see.
That carrot is in front of Jacob's face right now,
Well,
and
Mm-hmm.
he's
and
reaching
I'm
for
gonna
it.
right, but see that's what I'm gonna allude to. Okay, Waller was under contract for
And hold
two
on,
years.
Matthew, we'll get to talk about Hankins in a moment, but keep
Yeah,
your thoughts.
but I don't think that we should have re-upped him this year. And as far as Jacobs, I agree with him not being signed this year because my biggest thing on Josh Jacobs is that Josh Jacobs cannot play a full season without getting injured. And that is the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I think the Raiders did not re-up him is they want to see what his longevity is, his durability. And yes, Jacobs is playing out of his mind because it's a contract year. It's a contract year.
And,
If Jacobs wants to stay and we don't re-sign him before the end of the year, because again, the ball is in his court now, and he has all the bags, he's got all the marbles, and he has the leverage now, providing he stays healthy. He
but
has the leverage.
but Captain, it's just a shame that Waller got the money that now we're in hindsight, right? Highly regrettably,
Hindsight, yeah.
we wish we would have saved for Josh.
I
Okay,
agree.
because next year it's going to be a bid war for him, and it should be. I mean, I'm happy for this young man. I would not be sad to see Jacob go, and people know why. But I also think that you need to be prudent. Ziegler and them, to me, they didn't know enough about the Raiders to start making these kind of decisions, even though it is their job to decide who they're going to sign and who not. But I felt like they should have just waited a while to get the lay of the land. Oh, well, Willie Wayne, please, Zeus person here, raised my hand. But seriously, I felt like Ziegler and them should have just waited a little while before they decided oh, let's go get Waller. They paid for Adams already, huge money. I mean, isn't that enough? Why you gotta, wait and see when you're in a new place, a new environment, let's do that. And while we're at it, let's transition right into talking about the Hankins trade, right? What we get draft picks.
Yeah, we got what we did. We traded. We traded Hankins to the Cowboys and a 7 for the Cowboys 6.
Happy trails.
Yeah.
You're going to miss that pressure he puts on the quarterback, Peggy.
Yes, especially with the penetration and all those sacks that he's gotten in the 3 years that he's been a Raider.
Well, okay, but I will say this again in his defense.
Jelly Roll's brother,
In his defense, he is the best run-stopping defensive tackle that we have.
And where was that? Did I see that on?
You didn't let me finish.
Did I see that in Tennessee? Did I see that Sunday?
No. But what I'm saying is that he was the best run-stopping defensive tackle that we had, but McZiggy, as people are going to say, McDaniel with Ziegler, McZiggy, they know how they're building this team for the future. They know that Jonathan Hankins was not part of the future, that they were using people that will not be part of this team next year, and they are getting what they can for him by people that are willing to trade for that. So we ended up getting a 6th for a player, for a commodity. And the fact is that the 2 young kids that we drafted are going to be seeing more and more playing time as far as when we transition to Butler and the other kid. I can't remember.
See, Captain, and Hattie, I'm bringing you in on this. What I regretted was people like Phylon didn't get re-signed because we wanted to keep Hankins. I mean, talk about a one-trick pony. Raiders are enamored of defensive tackles. Hi, Edward.
Hi, Ed.
They seem in love with defensive tackles who can only do one thing. And that one thing is not getting to the quarterback, okay? Not putting any pressure, not penetrating, not disrupting. I mean, heck, get a hand up in the air. How about batting down a few balls for me? They don't even do that, Heidi. I mean, what's your thought?
Max Crosby did it.
Yes, I know.
And might I say, Max Crosby is so dedicated to the Raiders that he made sure that baby was born on the bye week.
Yes, I know. Induced.
That's dedication.
I mean, I can see where Hankins would be valuable to the Cowboys, okay? Because they got serious problems in the middle. And they have a rotation problem. They just had a body problem. I think one Cowboy fan told me they had 2 DTs that went down in the last 2 weeks. So they needed them. Just like the Jets made that very opportune trade this week after they lost Brees. What's his name? Brees?
Yeah, Brees.
Yeah, they went to the Jags and got James Robinson. So, I mean, teams are making moves like that. And before we bring in one of my gurus, Pittsburgh Steelers gurus, I wanted to talk about just quickly around the NFL. I mean, what happened to the Green Bay Packers?
Oh, sorry.
I mean, the Washington Redskins, really? I mean,
the commodes. The commodes.
No, I mean
the Commandos.
No, the commodes, because they play like a toilet most of the time.
Wait a minute.
But they did flush Rodgers the other day. So the commodes.
Led by my favorite drink, the Heineken. And what happened to Tom Brady?
Oh, why are you swearing? Come on now.
It was beautiful.
Did I see a baseball score? Did I hear no touchdowns at all? And the creme de la creme, what happened to Bill Belichick last night?
I saw some of it. I saw some of it on my flight. So yeah.
Now, some people will be upset at us thinking that we're bringing bad karma, but let's face it, there's no time where bad news for the New England Patriots is not good news for the Raiders. If you're a Raider fan, I just can't think of any time. Did you see how fast Heidi snatched that boy?
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
That's correct. He snatched that boy Mac Jones so fast after the interception, and then captain the post-game spin. Right, the spin was, "Oh, we planned it that way." That's what that is. That's what that
Is
is.
that why Mac Jones was saying, "I'm out"?
You got to, but you got to say it the right way. No, that was planned in the baseline. We were going to do that.
We knew we were going to do that earlier today.
Zappy in there, so that was all part of the plan. On to whoever we play next week.
Yeah, and that's a very typical thing that happens in the NFL is trading out quarterbacks throughout the middle of the game.
Uh-huh.
It happens all the time, just a rotational thing, oh, come on. How ridiculous does that sound?
Really, it was so, and they were so excited up there when the holiday drink Zappy came in. Because when I heard Bailey Zapp, I seriously thought it was a new holiday drink. I was clueless. Oh, well, that's a name of a quarterback. But
that's New Zima.
I loved Zima.
I
loved it.
Oh, that was nasty. Oh, that's nasty, Heidi. That's nasty.
No. You get
that and Bartles and James.
I like Bartles and James.
But he comes in and he scores 2 quick scores, Heidi. Right? 2 quick scores. The place is going nuts. No. All I was thinking, can you sustain that? What else you got? Okay.
Well, the Pats couldn't sustain it in 1985. They ran into the Bears defense.
Buzzsaw.
It was so sad.
It was buzzsaw.
Well, that and like I said, Doc being a legitimate Patriots fan, he's not a Cheatriots fan. He's a legitimate Patriots fan. Was giving them kudos. Now,
is our special guest in yet?
Oh, he's been here. That's why I said I just
we're
wanted
ready.
to make sure.
We're ready for him.
Yeah, no, I wanted to make sure that BK knew that I had him, so he didn't pop out. But yeah, he's been in here. He's ready to go. So without further ado, go on, Peggy. Why don't you introduce our wonderful guest for everybody?
Tonight's special guest is one of my gurus. I said it before. People wonder why I have all this knowledge. This is a guy that is a reason why. I mean, he knows football like people know their bedtime prayers. They know how. He knows how to put things in a way that everybody understands it. He's the head of our Facebook group that's been around for, what, BK, 7 years now?
Yeah, since 2016.
Gridiron Battle Zone, we co-founded together. And of course, the Legacy Battle, we became famous for doing football debates. Brian King, welcome.
Thanks, guys. Captain Jack, man, I saw your show with was Stuart Schweigert there a couple months ago. That was good stuff.
The 5-hour Stuart Schweigert show,
right? Yeah, I didn't watch all 5 hours. Full confession, but yeah, I mean, it was cool. I caught some of it. So and Helen, I remember you too. I think we crossed paths a few times. So yeah, it's great to be here.
Well, we wanted to make sure, and Heidi is the one that also keeps me on track. Heidi is my other silver and black lady tonight, and Brian, I want to start off right away. We have talked about defense. Raiders fans everywhere talked about defense for such a long time, and we know the Pittsburgh Steelers. You guys are committed to defense. If you're giving advice to the Raiders franchise on how to build a defense, where do we start?
All right. Well, I'm glad you asked. if you're building a championship defense, right off the bat, a few important questions that you got to get an answer for. First off, what are the possible defensive alignments? I mean, back in the day, you only had the 4-3 and 3-4, and that was it. But man, over time, we've added, we got 3-4 flex, so we got 4-3 flex, we got 3-4 hybrid, nickel heavy. I mean, there's all kind of different mutations of defenses that have come about. So, like my team, the Steelers, we've run a version of the 3-4 for decades. I mean, we kind of like to do the same thing over and over for years and years, and then we kind of converted a little bit into a 3-4 flex with our guy TJ Watt that will, he'll come up and make it a 4-3, and or else he'll hang back and make it a 3-4. But when I look at the Raiders, I mean, they've switched it up a lot over the past several years. I mean, you had Ken Norton running a 3-4, then you had
swearing.
I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. I got a few, you might want to get your bleep button ready, because I got a few more names here to drop. You got Paul Gunther, you got Gus Bradley. They ran a 4-3.
You got Paulie G. Yeah, were you going to say that? I got Paulie G. Hey, it fell off the effing truck. You know what I'm saying? Paulie G.
Yeah. So yeah. But now you got your guy Patrick Graham. And you're running it's like a 3-4 hybrid with a lot of nickel packages and stuff. So Graham, he's one of them Belichick guys, and he has some experience with Miami, and then with the Giants as well. So you got to establish that. Then it brings us to our next question: which defensive alignment should your team run? So now this is gonna depend on three things. You've got to know the experience of your coaching staff. You got to know the existing personnel on the roster, and then you kind of got to know the recent success that you've had. So, like when my team hired Tomlin, there was a suggestion that he may switch the alignment from a 3-4 to a 4-3 because of the experience he had in Tampa Bay running that 4-3 defense. But he weighed his options. He looked at the recent success. He looked at the personnel, and then he had a great defense coordinator, Dick LeBeau. So he said, let's not change a thing. Let's keep rolling with it. And it's worked very well. But for the Raiders, Josh McDaniels, he's not a defensive guy. So he's putting all his trust into Graham. And, the Raiders defense has not really had any success, to speak of over the last several years. So, in the previous regimes, they've really missed a lot on their draft picks and acquisitions. So, it was logical to sort of go ahead and wipe the slate clean and go ahead with the 3-4 alignment that you guys are going for, because this is it was kind of a good time to do it. So now that we answered those questions, now we get to the big one. How do we build the roster? So you got your different defensive alignments. They prioritize different positions on the field. So like a team that's running the 4-3, like the Eagles, for example, their emphasis is going to be more on defensive line, so they can get the pressure, on the quarterback, limit the rushing lanes. The middle linebacker has to be really savvy, to diagnose the plays, and then the outside linebackers need to be good in coverage. But for your Raiders, more emphasis is on the linebackers and on the DBs with the way that Graham's doing things. So the linebackers, they have more rushing lanes to fill in this type of defense. And it compels you to blitz a lot more often. And I noticed that in this season, compared to last season, the blitzing has gone way up. Because you had in 2021, the Raiders were dead last in blitz percentage, only 12% of the time. And so far in this season, they're like middle of the pack at 25%. So Graham is definitely sending them now, and that's because of the scheme. And getting back to what I said about the defensive line, having less emphasis on, with a 3-4, you mentioned it earlier. You mentioned about 5-10 minutes ago about what happened today. They deal away Hankins. Hankins was a 4-3 defensive tackle.
Adios, amigo.
That's his. He's not really built for the scheme. And then of course, he wasn't really performing very well either. So that made it a very logical move for them to get something, as Captain Jack said, to get something out of them. Get a little bit of compensation while you can, rather than just straight up cutting them loose. You know, and then the flex linebacker, that becomes really the most important position in this defense. You know, whenever because like I said, with TJ Watt, changing it from a 3-4 to a 4-3, you know, depending on where he lines up on the edge, that's why when the Raiders got Chandler Jones, you know, that was absolutely vital to run this kind of defense that you guys are running. So now the most important part for building the championship defense is depth. You've got to have a deep roster at the important positions. It's like going to Philly 2017. You know, they had that amazing postseason run, but it wasn't all because of Nick Foles. They had great depth at the defensive line, and they just kept throwing fresh bodies out there over and over and over again. And as you recall, it was Brandon Graham for the Eagles made the play that knocked the ball out of Tom Brady's hand in the Super Bowl, and that's what won it. You know, it was like that was the key play in that game. So for the Raiders, you know, running all that nickel 3-4 hybrid stuff, your guys' key positions is the DBs and the linebacker positions. That's where you have to have the most depth. Defensive line is not going to matter as much. So, you know, if you're going to build that championship defense, that's what you got to have. And you guys have a great additional component whenever you look at Max Crosby. I mean, that guy's motor is unbelievable. Just relentless. He can do it all. He can get up. He can swap balls. He rush a passer. You know, he can do everything. And that's I think you guys have some of the building blocks, but it's going to take time. You don't see it happen. You know, you transition in one season and all of a sudden you've got a championship defense. It's going to take some time. But if you want to sort of look at a team to model after, you guys have set something up that's very similar to what the LA Rams have going on with the nickel type defenses, you know. And so if you look at the kind of success that they've had, that's I think could be the future if the Raiders play things right.
But BK, I wanted to bring Captain and Heidi in on this, you know, to start thinking about this. You talked about, do we have the building blocks for what you've just described? Heidi, I mean, linebackers. I mean, do we keep Denzel? I mean, would you keep Divine Diablo? Would you keep Diablo?
I mean, I would keep them, yeah. Mm-hmm. But they need more.
They definitely need more.
I mean, on Sunday, for a while there, it seemed like Blake Martinez and Denzel Perryman were making every tackle. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were running around everywhere.
Captain, I mean, he's talking now about secondary. What do you do with a guy like Abrams? That's our strong safety, BK. I mean, we don't know what he is.
It's disappointing. Yeah.
Well,
wait.
Here's the thing, though, and as BK said this, you can't do it all in one season.
Right.
You can't. It's gonna take minimum, I'm saying 3 years, because you start with the baseline here. You're adding pieces as you can. We added Martinez, who knows Graham's defense, and he was available. And so he came in, he's plug and play. You get rid of Hankins, who is not going to be available. So you get building blocks for him. Next year is kind of like, or today, this season is you're baking, or you're putting the ingredients in for the cake. Okay. Mm-hmm. Next year, you put the cake in the oven. Okay. Mm-hmm. And in year 3, you get the cake out of the oven and add the frosting and the icing. Okay. So what you're built, you got the baseline, the ingredients coming through and getting the ingredients together for the cake to actually become something that's edible and decent to eat. And then by year 3, and hopefully it's at the end of year 2, because remember the Super Bowl is in Vegas after next year. So hopefully we get like an addition, like year 2-3 is next year 2-3. It becomes that. Mm-hmm. And it'll be the long beginnings of a what OG likes to say, the dynasty. To have a dynasty, you got to win a playoff game. So we got to at least start that. Okay, but they're
building. Know why not? I mean,
right. They're building, but they're getting the pieces that they need. They're building the pieces that they need, and they're doing it fiscally. They're
Okay.
doing it fiscally, aside from a way too much money spent on
Don't get us started.
we already
The
went into that
Raiders are in
situation.
love with offense.
Yeah.
And this hasn't just been this year. This has been an ongoing thing for decades. They don't spend enough money on the defensive side of the ball. And when they do, we get Richard Seymour and Warren Sapp in their last years of their career. That's just not gonna get it done. You absolutely have to bring a young talent in, and you have to develop it. And what you were talking about with the linebackers and safeties and things like that, we got problems there.
Yeah.
You're building it. You're building it, though. Like I said, we got rid of Trayvon Mullen. And I saw it in the chat. You traded Hankins for a rack of ribs, and then somebody said, "Yeah, and you traded Mullen for a bag of chips." So you're getting rid of the components that you don't want. For a fact they're not going to be there. Okay, you got rid of them immediately. You kept Hankins as a serviceable person, but got rid of him at a time that you can get something for him. And you already mentioned Abrams. That's the question mark. Because he has played better. He has played better this year. Peggy, come on, listen now.
Not in coverage.
There we go.
He has played better this year overall.
Only because we're sending him on blitzes.
But that's
another point to make on the Hankins is on the Hankins trade is you think about where he went. He went to Dallas. Dallas is a 3-4 defense. They don't really prioritize defensive line either. But that was because of the injuries that Peggy mentioned earlier to Dallas that they're so desperate. So this was like a peak time. You guys probably got the most that you were ever going to get out of him.
Yeah,
and if he was great, that was just, and so, you might say, oh, it wasn't much, but like it was the best that you could possibly do. So I wouldn't get upset about it. I mean, I think you guys made it a solid trade.
Well, and I wanted to transition, though, now that we talked about the Raiders defense, you've given us food for thought, what scheme we're running, where the emphasis should be, where they should be really changing. But I just wanted to change it up altogether. There are 3 teams in the NFL that I believe are in a major transition point, having lost a really, really good quarterback. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are definitely one of those. And I look at the Denver Broncos struggling for 7 years, okay? And it's not at all clear that they've solved their quarterback problem. And then, of course, Bill is just discovering that he's got a quarterback problem. What's going on in Pittsburgh?
I don't have a quarterback problem. I don't know what Peggy's talking about. Billy's up. He is our future. And so quiet on that. Billy.
What are you hoping to go on? Why did you go out and get Trubisky and then throw him away quickly so you could bring the young man on, Pickett?
Yeah, I mean that was a kind of a tricky thing. I think when they got Trubisky, I mean that was back in free agent time, and so it was it was before the draft, and so I think that like the thought process was like, okay, here's a guy that could be a potential starter. He had done some good things in Chicago. He had sat behind, Josh Allen, in Buffalo, and so, I think they thought, okay, well, this guy's got potential. And then they didn't have to pay a whole lot either for me. He didn't have to break the bank. So there was that. And then when Kenny Pickett, nobody really knew where he was going to be drafted. It was really this season in particular, like the quarterback market was really tricky. Nobody really knew if he was going to go first round, second round, or if he's going to go high end of the first round or bottom of the first round. It was just really, nobody really knew. And so when he was still sitting there, they liked him. That was their guy. So they went for it. And, and so whenever they gave Trubisky the start in the beginning of the season, to me, I don't have any hard evidence of this, but to me, I think that was Mike Tomlin fulfilling his promise to Trubisky. Like we told you, when we signed you, we're going to give you a shot. We're going to give you the first shot at this. And so, and that's what happened. Well, then when Trubisky struggled against the Jets in the first half of that Jets game, it was playing so poorly. I think he felt like he had to make a move, so he went to Pickett. Pickett gave him a spark. You could tell a lot difference in the offense. He seemed to be processing it really quickly, so it seemed like the right move. But now I don't know, because Pickett really struggled in this past game. I mean, things went well. Things were going well in the first half of the Buccaneers game. We don't know what would have happened, because he was obviously left the game with an injury. But but after that, so they do have a quarterback controversy. Absolutely, there's people on both sides of it, and there's definitely there's good points to both guys. There's bad points to both guys. Ultimately, I think what you have to do is you sort of have to project this season and think, do we really have a chance at 2-5 of making any kind of getting into the playoffs, making any kind of noise? If the answer to that is no, I think you just got to stick with your future. If Kenny Pickett was drafted, he is the future. If you think you still got a shot, and you want to win some ball games this year, then I think you got to go Trubisky. Because I think his experience gives him just a little bit of a nudge above Pickett at this point in time.
I thought picking up Trubisky in the offseason was actually the best thing that could have happened to the team, as he was a plug-and-play quarterback. He's very knowledgeable in the offenses. And they had a statue back there in Rapist Pervert. Oh, I'm sorry, Roethlisberger, Rapist Pervert. I had it right the first time. For the last several years. And Pittsburgh made the mistake of not getting rid of Ben about 3 years ago. They hung on and hung on.
Why are you hanging on and hanging on? He's got to be replaced.
If you got a Greek statue back there anyway, and Trubisky is at least a somewhat, compared to Ben, a mobile Greek statue. Maybe that's a Greek statue that goes on location and gets moved from scene to scene to scene. He's not bad, and in that system, it would be okay. But everybody, in my estimation, everybody and their grandmother in the Pittsburgh area knew that Kenny Pickett was going to be a Steeler come hell or high water, come draft day, unless somebody was, I want to say stupid enough to overdraft him. But when he dropped into the Steelers' hands, it was, Katie bar the door that was coming to fruition. They missed on Marino, and they were not going to let it happen again. We're not going to up twice.
Those comparisons were going for sure. Yeah.
And Pennsylvania in general has turned out some really, really good quarterbacks. This is Joe Montana from there.
Oh, you got Montana, you got Jim Kelly, you got Joe Namath, Johnny Unitas. I could go on and on. George Blanda for your Raiders there.
Oh, my God. I like this guy. He knows the fact that Blanda and Montana and Joe Namath, they're all from the Monongahela at that area in and around. And Johnny U is from there. DK, you got some good tags. Good tags.
All right.
You really and like you said, the Steelers seem to have missed out on quite a few of those young men. And I guess, like you said, they were determined it was never going to happen again. And I do that. Now I want to transition to what we've been all thinking about, those moments, those Pittsburgh Raider moments.
Oh, yeah. We've had some great ones.
Heidi, I remember I told her homework assignment. And for the audience out there, I want you to think of your favorite Pittsburgh Raider game moment. And of course, it could be regular season or playoffs. But what you been thinking about? What's your greatest moment?
The dog ate my homework. No, there are two moments that stick out to my mind, and the first one has to be Terrell Pryor's run, 93 yard. run at the start of the game touchdown.
And Pryor's from Pittsburgh, by the way.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. Another Pittsburgh QB. Go ahead.
And I believe that's still the Raiders' longest rushing touchdown in history.
It's in the Hall of Fame. It's longest running for a quarterback. Go ahead.
But I think just I have a soft spot for Bruce Gradkowski. A real soft spot for him. And
that's a swear word to us.
that comeback is legendary, and so that has to be right at the top of the list. That probably the top. I love me some Bruce. Everyone, whenever there's a question like on Reddit or Facebook, name your favorite Raider that nobody remembers was a Raider. And for me, it's always Bruce Gradkowski. Always.
Oh yeah, there's no question. And I'm gonna go next, and I'm gonna name my favorite moment was Richard Seymour slapping the
I like that.
Oh, those are fighting words there.
I mean, that game, we lost it, by the way.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because he was tossed in the first quarter.
Well, but that moment when the fists came out, and Roethlisberger's standing there more shocked than hurt, and I'm looking at, did he just do that? Did he just do that? And I'm gonna steal a little bit of Captain's thunder and just have to talk a little bit about the Immaculate Reception.
Get it right. Get it right.
In BK in Oakland, in Raiderland, we only have a D. We call it the deception.
Right, yeah.
But I'm gonna put another spin on it. Okay, I'm not gonna argue that the ball hit the ground, folks. I'm gonna argue that an offensive player from the Steelers tipped the ball, and that's how Franco got it. It should have been an illegal.
Yeah, it's a Frenchy football.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It should have been an illegal pass. And oh, by the way, BK confirmed this for me. Isn't December 24th this year some sort of Franco Harris Day?
Yeah. That's we got a 50-year anniversary going on. So
yeah, we will be there. It's so appropriate. Captain, I want to go to you for your favorite Steeler Raider moments.
I'm actually gonna go way back, not quite to the Immaculate Deception, which, by the way, BK, the Raider Nation, when Franco was going by in the cavalcade of cars in Canton this year, we made sure we had signs for him. Okay, it's like repent now, Franco. You know it was a trap. I said the Immaculate Trap Deception, and we gave it to him, and he loved it because he was laughing.
He's a great
because
guy.
We know that we gave it to him because we were told that he always gives it to the Raider fans up in Canton during that time, but we gave it to him this year. So that made my Canton. And it's along those lines. And as a kid living in Philly, it was the Raiders that always lost to the eventual Super Bowl champions. We were pushed out by the Dolphins. For year after year, living in Philly as a kid, losing to and I'll say this correctly, the Stillers. You lose to the Stillers, okay? And they push you out. And I remember the 1 year that they had the icing. It was one of the AFC playoff games that they iced over the field. Cliff Branch couldn't do it because he would be skidding on that. Mm-hmm. My favorite moment is the AFC Championship game in Oakland. When we finally beat that Stiller ass and went to the Super Bowl to get our first Super Bowl the following 2 weeks against the Vikings, but it was beating the Steelers. And they were saying like, oh, well, Franco and Rocky wasn't. That'd be Rocky Blyer for all you folks that not Rocky, not Stallone, but Rocky Blyer wasn't playing, and Franco wasn't playing, and it was either Swan or Stallworth. I don't care. You beat the team that is in front of you.
That shows up. The one that shows up,
right? And I think that they had a back named Russell was the other, if I remember correctly. That was the running back that they had. I don't care. You beat the team, and you beat them in Oakland, and you whoop the ass, and you go to the Super Bowl. That is my favorite moment in Raider Steeler lore, because we've always
76,
1976. Yeah.
Right. That's 76 season. Yeah. Yep. And I need it. Now, and of course, our guest goes last. He gets to give his favorite Steeler Raider moment. Take it away.
I mean, going to that 76 game, there was actually something that was kind of iconic that happened in that game, even though we lost. There was a point, I don't remember which DB it was from the Raiders that hit him. Might have been Tatum or somebody, but somebody hit Lynn Swan, and he was like knocked out. And Mean Joe Green, there's actually a picture of it, Mean Joe Green carrying Lynn Swan off the field. It's kind of an iconic moment. So to me, that one stands out as far as my NFL historian side. That stands out as a great moment, because that was like a really big bond, and kind of fueled the next, because 2 out of the next 3 years we ended up winning the Super Bowl again, so kind of fueled that bond. But and then of course, I mean, you got to go with the immaculate reception. I mean, as far as that was, because not only just because how everything went down, but winning that playoff game, it was the first time that the Steelers franchise had ever won a playoff game. So you were talking, we were 40 something years old of a franchise finally breaking the ice and getting that. That was such a huge moment. And then I know it was, we ended up losing the next round to the Dolphins, but that sort of kicked off the Steelers dynasty, so to speak, because of the 70s, because it was you had to break the ice, you had to start somewhere. And so that was a big moment as well.
I'm gonna jump in real quick, only because you reminded me. Okay. If they called the play correctly as a trapped ball, and the story about
he wants to go there.
No, it was trapped. And if you call, and BK, I don't know whether you know this or not, but the guy did ask, the referee asked the guy in security, said, how many security officers are on your crew? Everybody was liquored up, and the guy said about 6. He goes, that's all I need to know.
Exactly.
He comes out of the dugout because they never made a motion when they when Franco crossed the end line. They never made a motion. The guy goes out of the dugout after being on the phone with New York. Okay.
We get those conspiracies going now.
Before he's on the phone with New York, asked the guy how many people he had for security in a liquored up Pittsburgh Three River Stadium, about 6 or 10. He goes, all I need to know. Comes out of the dugout, and then he's on the list of hands. Okay?
Yeah.
And the second part to that is, if they called that correctly, the Raiders go in and they beat Miami the next week, because the Raiders are the team that's
everybody
that win streak.
Perfect season. Dolphins, I don't know, man.
There is no Dolphin perfect season. The Raiders go in to get their glory, and because of one bad call, it just greatly changed the landscape of the NFL. I'm waxing poetic because of how close that call was. I just had to tell you, brother, because and Larry Zonka and Jim Kick and Mercury Morris and Larry Little and all the boys wouldn't be doing the champagne toss when people would be at the end of the season like they did, because there wouldn't have been a perfect season. The Raiders would have beat the Dolphins, and they did in fact beat the Dolphins the next year to stop that streak in Where was it? It was in the stadium up in Berkeley. It was in UCal Berkeley because the A's had a playoff game that day, and they couldn't play in the Coliseum, so they stopped the Dolphins. You called that play correctly, BK, and a lot of this is different history, baby.
We're still mad about it for 50 years.
And I would like to add, I would like to add that if any of our listeners want a really great retelling of the story from the correct perspective, check out the Raider Roots podcast, episode 18. It's called The Immaculate Deception. It's about 18 minutes long, and it details this play perfectly. It tells you the entire story behind the play, and it tells you the entire story of the game. So, Raider Roots Podcast, episode 18. Check it out.
Thank you. And I wanted to transition now just to something that our audience can come with us on.
Raider Roots Podcast.
Right, Raider Roots. And we're going to get to something else that BK wants to talk about, but if you're going to name the MVP of your team today, I'm talking about performance-based MVP, not because he's cute or not because he has better name recognition. Heidi, who's the MVP of the Raiders right now?
Current players?
Yes.
Right now?
Right now.
Has to be Josh Jacobs.
Okay. Has to be him for you. BK, you're going to name the MVP of the Steelers right now.
MVP of the Steelers. Wow, and I haven't done a whole lot good yet this year, but I think, I mean, with TJ Watt being out, that's really, really hurt. So I think that Cam Hayward on the defense, he's really stepped up and he's really done well. He's like the undisputed leader on that defense. So I'm going to go with him.
Captain, your MVP of the Raiders
right now is, because he's been mentioned, Jacobs, but with a solid number 2 is what Tito has for me as well, is Max Crosby. Is what he has done for that defense. You know, the guy is mugged almost every play. And that's double teamed and triple teamed and held in front of officials, and they still won't call it. So I would say, I mean, Josh Jacobs obviously has propelled the team, but Max Crosby has led the team as well. And I see it every Raider game. There are 2 people that are out in front of the Raiders when they're getting out of the locker room. It's Derek Carr and Max Crosby. Every game, they are in the front, leading them out of the tunnel. Every game.
And I'm going to surprise everybody with my MVP, Colton Miller. Steady as a rock. Always there. Without him, we have no offensive line. Okay? We have no guy that we can depend on week after week after week to not only provide the pass protection that Derek needs, but that run blocking has become deadly. And the tackle doing run blocking, I mean, that's a pretty unique guy. I'm going to make my MVP Colton Miller. And now I wanted to transition again, and let's out there, those of you that are commenting, I want to get your ideas on your MVP. And Heidi, I did like your MVP, Jacobs. He really has got to be the guy.
Yeah. At this moment.
If that's what I asked, at this moment. Now, BK, you've got a really nice podcast going with some really fantastic guests called Legacy Battle. And I don't want to promote it so much as I wanted to talk to you just briefly. You've had a few Raider guests on, or have you not yet? Have you?
I think we've only had one Raider guest. I mean, we've had many guests, but do you guys remember Jared Bunch? He was a fullback and running back.
Yeah, I interviewed him. Yeah, Jared Bunch played for the Giants, Raiders, and then he was an actor in Hollywood.
That's right. Yeah, we talked to Jared for a while. Yeah, so Yeah, I think that's the only. I was looking before the show. I was looking down our list, and I think that's the only Raider actually we've gotten so far. But any Raiders out there, if you want it, you want to come on, you're welcome.
The unique thing about the legacy battle is we have a tradition on Gridiron Battle Zone where we do the debates. And that's how legacy battle, I think the idea, the concept got started. We actually had football debates where we gave them 6 questions, and 6 questions they would debate on. And then we had a panel of judges, right? The big winner. And legacy battle is set up just the same way, right?
Yeah, yes, somewhere.
You do the debating and the battles, and then you pick a winner, And so I wanted to talk about just that format. I mean, how's that working out for you guys?
Well, so what we do, we usually get about 3 or 4 panelists, and we try to get a guest that's in. We do all sports, not just football. We do baseball and hockey and basketball and Olympians and anything you can think of, any kind of sports. And we come up with a question that's the theme for the show. Like, let's say if we had a Raiders guest tonight, and we would say, okay, how about who are the top 5 Raiders offensive players of all time? And that'd be a really cool show, So then each one of the panelists, we're going to represent, a couple candidates for the show. And then we're going to throw it to the guests and get their expert opinion on that player as well. And then once it's all over, sort of everybody kind of weighs everybody's information and highlights that they threw out there, and then we pick who our winners are of the debate. So it's it's kind of something fun, something a little different than just like a straight up interview of the player. We do some of that afterwards. We do a Q&A afterwards, but we want to sort of get their expert opinion, because I mean they were on the gridiron, they were in the trenches, they were the guys that they know what was going on back then, and so their opinions, in my view, their opinions have a lot of weight and a lot of value.
So I just wanted BK to get in his little plug for that, and I have a final question. Just everybody walking off, the one thing you'd like to see the Raiders and the Steelers do better. The one thing, offense or defense. And Heidi, I got to start with you. I mean, there's got to be something you want to see them do much better.
Pressure the quarterback.
Okay. Absolutely. I mean, we have talked about the Raider pass rush oh no, Cap, it's just been me, right? Hammering away on, pass rush.
Defensive tackle, push from the middle. You don't win. Your defensive ends can't eat unless your defensive tackles push the pocket. We need more production out of the defensive tackle position. I can go on, but I think this horse is dead.
I was going to specify from the defensive tackle position, but I think that it's kind of a given when you say
BK,
that.
Yeah, I think it is. BK, the one thing you want to see the Steelers do better.
I think they've got to get better with their play calling. I think a lot of times they're sort of been too conservative. We're finding ourselves in 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 5 all the time, and that's great. But you run 2 times and then you have to convert a 3rd down, and you've got a quarterback, a rookie quarterback. It's not always easy, and so it puts so much pressure on them. I just wish that they would get a little bit more vertical, a little bit more deceptive with some of their play calling, and try and stay ahead of the sticks a little bit more.
Captain, the one thing you want to see the Raiders do much better.
They actually did it one game, and that was against Kansas City. They were up 17-0.
Mm-hmm.
They were up 17-0 against arguably the second best team in the AFC, because I still think Buffalo is the best team in the AFC, but arguably against the second best team in the AFC, they were up 17-0 in their house, and they were dictating plays. They were dictating tempo. They were playing with the lead, and everything that they were doing worked, and the defense didn't have to, they didn't have to play from behind. If you do that, you dictate, you play with the lead, and you put the effing foot on the effing gas and you effing don't
and
stop
don't
it.
look back. Don't
That's
second
what
guess
you do.
yourself.
That's what I want to see them do. Like I said, they did it once against arguably one of the top tier teams in the AFC, if not in the NFL. If you can do it against them in their house on a game that is a primetime game, there is no reason why you can't do it repeatedly.
And for me, my thing that I'd like to see the Raiders do better, and I already mentioned it, game planning, game preparation. I'd like to, for once, see them come out the first quarter ready to play the team that's on the field next to them. I mean, why do we have film rooms? Are they watching X-rated movies and doing popcorn on Friday nights in the film room?
When I do X-rated movies, I don't need popcorn. I just watch.
What are they doing in the film room? Are they not to break down and analyze? Now, of course, you're not going to be prepared for everything.
You ever seen Mystery Science Theater?
Oh, I love it. With the little guys sitting with the little aliens sitting there.
They're making little animals, on the screen, little bunny foo-foo. They're working on their hands. Yeah.
Right. And if it's a really bad movie, right, don't they start throwing stuff at the screen and tossing debris?
That's what they're doing.
I'd love the film room to be used by people who know what they're doing and can analyze brain. At least be prepared for the guys you need to be prepared for, like Derrick Henry in Tennessee, which I've talked about.
Or right? Travis Kelce, 4 touchdowns on 25 yards.
I can't even talk about that. My heart palpitates. BK, 4 touchdowns. The man ain't never going to have a day like that again.
On 25 yards.
And you're playing the Texans, for God's sakes. I mean, what other weapons do they have? They got Pierce. That's really it. That's Lovey. Lovey says, I'm gonna hold it so you don't score anything because I know my offense cannot get behind. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I run the football. I control the clock. I control field position. If I don't do those things, the Texans can't win any football games. Who do you prepare for?
Yeah,
it's got to be fierce. But every time, Heidi, am I wrong? They come out the first quarter and these guys are just, what was your word, Captain? Dictating. Yeah. They're dictating to us in the first quarter every single time. And I wish the Raiders coaching staff would do just a
don't be reactionary. You dictate the tempo and what's going on, because if you are reactionary, you are letting the other team tell you what they're doing, and you're trying to catch up to them. Let them try to catch up to you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, well, I mean that's your, every team has that opening game script of 15, 20 plays that they're planning on running, and when they're not successful, that tells you right away that like their game plan was not right. Their game plan was not good, and so that's completely on the coaching, and when you see the comebacks later on, that's because they made the great halftime adjustments. But you can't rely on that all the time. It's not going to work every time. But I mean, if you want my opinion, like with what I've seen with the Raiders, I think that the last 2 or 3 games they've really recommitted to the run a lot more than they had earlier on. And that's to me, you got to have that balance. I mean, you don't really want Carr back there throwing it 50, 60 times a game. You want to try to establish Jacobs, and Jacobs he's balling right now. And so just keep him going, keep feeding him while he's hot.
I firmly believe that a lot of those that the games that we lost when Andre James was out, okay, because remember he played against the Chargers, and he got injured like right before it was like the last play of the game or the second last play of the game.
Concussion.
He was out 2 or 3 games, okay, and we had Parham play those 2 or 3 games. If you put Andre James in that lineup, those are games that we don't lose.
Well, wait a minute. You know, I don't look at the things like that. I firmly disagree. If we held every one of our opponents this year to 20 points or less, we win all the games. Do you understand what I'm saying? Defense.
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Defense.
Yep.
If you don't score, I can't lose. I mean,
yeah. Well, what's a defense's best friend though? That running game. You know, if the offense got that running game and you get a lead and you're keeping the clock going and you're keeping them off the field to get to stay rested. That's big. You know, you don't want your defense on the field 35, 40 minutes in a game. You know, that by the time it gets to the end, they're gonna break. You know, they're not gonna be able to hold. So, you know, you keep that like it saw last game. You know, they kept that running game going. They just manhandled them up front, and that was the defense was on the sidelines. I'm sure applauding, as much as they could. Like, this is great. You know, we're getting rest. We're getting our, and then the other good things are going to come from there.
Yeah, yin and yang, Peggy. I think it goes one.
I think so. Hey, running game with the thing. Heidi, your Josh Jacobs, 7.2 yards a carry. That's really amazing.
Again.
Yeah. That's just amazing. I mean, we haven't heard of those numbers since. Well,
it's been a while.
maybe McFadden. I mean, do we have to go back to McFadden to find that kind of average per carry? I mean, well, of course, Marcus Allen and Bo. Right. We can definitely find 7.2 yards a carry among those. But we're out of time. I think we're just about ready to wrap. I know. Look at Captain. He don't want to
go. Yeah. Captain looks like he's.
Remember, I am only the producer. I am the guy. I am the Wizard of Oz. Don't pay attention to the guy behind the curtain because the talent is to the right of the screen with the special guest down below. This is Ladies' Night with Peggy DC Wench Holmes and Kevlar Prom Dress Miss Heidi. Okay, so I'm like, yeah, I'm trained well. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
well,
ma'am.
That's unfortunately just one of those nights where I've got to go, and I promised BK we were only going to hold him till 10:30. So it's one of those nights where we.
You blew that. You're about 5 minutes over on that.
I know that. I mean, we were having some fun, but I really have to go, and
I'm going to jump in with one shameless plug.
Please do.
Tomorrow, my podcast, the Only Nation podcast, is launching a contest. So please check out Twitter, check out Facebook, check out Instagram, enter the contest. We will announce the winner next week. Okay. So get your clicking fingers ready. Go to the Only Nation podcast, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, and enter our contest. You can get a cool little prize if you win.
And thanks to all of our guests out there and all of our commenters. I really appreciate your thoughts, Andrew, Matthew, Cool Kev. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
soon.
BK. Bye.
Okay. BK, thanks for being here. Ladies, always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Tuesday night, it's Silver and Black Ladies Night, and we can't do it without you. Thanks for watching. Thanks, ladies, for being here. Tell your friends. Share this up, people, because there's no reason why that these ladies shouldn't be nationwide and watched for sure.
We're working on making it true. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right. Take care, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Remember, Tuesday nights, it's the only the ladies here with the Ladies Night, Silver and Black Ladies podcast, or Silver and Black Ladies Night podcast here. And then every other Tuesday, it's Chronicles of the Black Hole with myself and OG Jack Daniels. That's on Tuesdays here on this channel. Also, remember that Wednesdays, it's NFL Nation Live at 9:00 following the Wild Wild West show, which is 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on this channel, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then again, NFL Nation Live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And tomorrow, a very special one-of-a-kind podcast. We're going to have wide receiver Daryl Hobbs will be coming on 11 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Central. Captain Jack interviews Daryl Hobbs here. It's a special event, only for him. That is tomorrow night, 11 Eastern, 10 Central. Make sure you are here, okay? Thursday night, obviously, it's You Don't Know Jack About Sports. Thursday, we're going to have a special guest as well. It is, I'll have to, I had his name here. Wait, let me make sure I get the name right because I don't want to screw that up. Okay, hang on here. We have a special guest on Thursday as well. It is Kevin Bryant, who wrote a book about spying in the NFL. Kevin Bryant will be here Thursday. That is the You Don't Know Jack About Sports show here. Kevin Bryant will be our guest there. And then, of course, after the game at 9 o'clock Eastern, okay, Ask Captain Jack. After the game, 9 o'clock Eastern. So we will be there. So there you got it. You got it. Make sure that you are there. And I want to, again, thank the ladies for the show and our special guest tonight. Great that he was, BK, with lots of knowledge. Make sure you're here. Thanks again, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Yeah! Isn't it great for a victory?